we'd have a little argument or a tiff, or you'd do something that you knew I didn't like and wouldn't say anything about it, and you'd be baby out with the bathwater again and go,
yeah,
that's it. He's not going to. He's done. I've just pissed him off, or I've just upset him this way, or I've done this wrong, or.
I was planning my child-free weekends because I figured we'd go 50-50 in custody.
You're not getting out of it that easy.
No, I realised that. This is a harder yard staying married.
And look, it is, but that having that support from...
Folks, and welcome to another episode of Fark the Shoulds podcast. I am Jodi from QuantiMama.
And I'm McGill from QuantiPapa.
Back by popular demand.
Just happy to be here, darling.
So it's been a while since we've had a chat, babe.
Well, yeah, it has. We've had a lot going on.
We've had tons going on.
A lot
more than just the usual 4 kids.
Yeah, and in that time of tons going on, I've been away most of the time through the week, which has been a very different experience for us.
You've been doing what I call DIDO, which is like FIFO, fly in, fly out, but you drive in, drive out for the week. And that always makes me think of dildo, which just delights me endlessly. Don't know why. Anyway, it's my perverse mind. So you've been doing dildo for the best part of
6
like
months.
6 months.
I thought you were going to say Dido as in dad in, dad out.
Oh.
Like I'm home for less than 48 hours and I'm gone.
Yeah.
Just to see how much I can mess up in that time to leave you with to clean up.
Hardly.
In the following week.
No. I mean, it's great because you become the point of contrast. So I'm like the good parent and the bad parent.
Oh, so I played my role really well.
You've done really well. What I will say is I've been pretty unfair because you'll come in and do something and I'll be like, no, you don't live here at the moment, so you don't get voting rights.
I even lost my side of the bed. You know how you're settled in your bedroom, you've got your beautiful partner there and you've got your side of the bed, everything's set up exactly the way you want it? Well, I came home one week and my side of the bed had changed.
But technically, I have had the crap side of the bed for a really long time.
You wanted that side?
Well, kind of. That was because I had to be closer to getting up to children because I had the boobs. And I had to be closer to the toilet because, they'd all killed my... all my bits and pieces that hold wee in and stuff like that. Like all the joys of motherhood. Fantastic.
And I was happy to make that sacrifice for you and have that side of the bed. I just got accustomed to it.
I know. You had the picturesque side. You get to look out the window, see the trees. It's pretty sweet for you. So, I suddenly discovered that actually the bed is softer on your side. So, like Goldilocks, I've jumped into a warm bed.
That's because I've left a heavier dent in there, I imagine, over the years.
Well, it's very comfy.
It is. And how's that? We were sort of sitting here going, well, where's this conversation going to go? And you've just raised an amazing issue that has something we had to flow with, which is change. Because I'm not here and because I'm not really a shrinking violet, but at the same time we get along pretty well, we make lots of mutual decisions. You've been making the decisions in the household you just have been day in, day out.
Yeah.
And then I sort of come home on the weekend and go, well, hang on a minute, I'm just going to beat my little chest here and go stamp my foot. And I've really had to just go with the flow, and losing my side of the bed.
Yes.
Is probably a perfect example of that.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of banter and joke and fun about it. And to your absolute beautiful credit, you did offer to change back.
Not really, though. It was one of those
for 1 or 2
offers.
weeks.
Yeah.
And it was like, you know what? I think you then actually moved my entire bedside table around to the other side.
Yeah, because you tried to say, oh, well, I'm going to need my stuff on my side. And I'm like, no worries, mate. I'll call that bluff and I'll move everything over. Gone.
And so now we've managed to go through another dynamic and another step in evolution, I suppose, of working it out.
That's right. And I suppose what we wanted to do, because I completely forgot to even introduce the subject, but of course I've only just told McGill. So you, our dear Quantifolk listeners, are also just in the dark as well. We're talking about, well, I wanted to talk about like long distance love, but it's not a relationship resuscitation, but it's a relationship rejuvenation, which is why I've been so grateful for your or for our dildo circumstance, you want me to stop calling it that?
You're going to have to. We're going to laugh every time.
Okay. Our DIDO circumstance, it still makes me think of dildo. But that, what the gift that has afforded us, and I don't think it's because we're just, determined to find gratitude and happiness in whatever we do. We know that obviously, as we've shared with our beautiful community out there, our listeners out there, that the last 3 to 4 years have been awfully challenging. And so we've had to roll with lots of things. And I think that actually strengthened us. One of the great things that came out of it was we decided to start doing a podcast, which we would never have predicted 20 years ago.
No, definitely not. Did they exist 20 years ago?
Probably not.
If we had started 20 years ago, we could have been all over this, that.
We could have been the pioneers, darling, the pioneers.
Only podcast on the market, so it'd be the most popular.
Yeah, well, that's true. And the issue is obviously you're the best and the worst all at once if you're number one, and there's only one.
Got to take it as it comes.
Exactly right. Everything's a positive, right? So the thing about our DIDO circumstance is that it has provided the perfect opportunity for us to high vibe our relationship. And I think often what happens is that not intentionally, but we have a great affection for one another, and that's quite evident. We're big fans of PDAs, aren't we?
Yeah.
And whether that's to be frowned upon or not, I don't give an SH1T because I do love a little bit of public fondling in the nicest possible way from my husband, not from strangers.
Don't let the audience take that one.
No, that's exactly right. That's not an invitation. But I think sometimes what happens is we not get put on a pedestal, but I think that people see our relationship and go, oh, there's a lot of ease there. And in some ways there is, but I think it's because, again, foundational decisions get made to be very conscious with one another, to think about what is going on for the other person and to not get lost in our own stories and the drama cycle. But this DIDO circumstance has forced us to level up because we were sort of starving for one another's company, and we made a decision to be really engaged with each other and not get caught up in just the banality of life where you call each other and literally it's like discussing the weather.
Yeah.
Like it sends me to sleep just thinking about it.
And there is a time and a place for that sometimes because, and I've been doing a fair bit of retraining. So some days I am just done. I'm cooked. I've pretty much got nothing left in the tank. And then I want to have that conversation with you that isn't necessarily high vibe. Sometimes it's just, I literally just need to say hello.
And that was one thing that came up recently, right? So, I mean, we'll catch you guys up, but one of the things we've done with this DIDO circumstance is that we've made the commitment to have dinner together because you're like 2 hours away. We've made a commitment to meet once a week and have dinner. So we both travel and meet in a common spot and have dinner. And one of the things that I said to you, which was probably a little bit harsh but not meant to be, I mean, I don't know, how do you say hard things without sounding harsh? But I did say, gee, you talk an awful lot about something, what I was finding banal. And you just said to me, but that's my world, like that's what I need to be able to discuss. And in that moment I was like, cool, okay, well that's fine then. If you need to discuss the banal stuff, then that's completely fine. We just get to balance that with the high vibe conversations that I want.
But sometimes that banal stuff needs to be moved.
Yeah.
The trap to it is not getting stuck
Yes.
in that state where that's the only source of conversation that you have.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the undercurrent in it all, you used the word we chose to high vibe our relationship. I look at it and go, we had an opportunity to continue in a really positive manner our relationship despite our circumstance.
Yeah.
So, yep, okay, I wasn't there. Some days I'm not getting the best of you because you are worn out from the kids or from working at home, or I'm knackered and I've got nothing for you beyond wanting to say hello. And the other thing that I've found really great in this is being able to say that to you.
Yeah.
So I've got nothing tonight. I'm happy for you just to talk to me. Just tell me what your day was. And you're like, I don't want to talk about the kids. I don't want to talk about work. You tell me something. I'm like, I'm just cooked.
Yeah.
And all the stuff that I'm going through, I need to express. I need to move it on as well. But the opportunity for you to say, no, in that case, I just don't want to have a conversation at this point in time. Is there anything you need to get off your chest, and we'll talk later. We'll talk tomorrow. Or that might very well end up becoming messages later in the night.
Yeah, so in fact, what's happened is it almost feels very grown up, but there's this space holding that goes on, so it's that, because I think of what's been brought in is the same energy that that I get to experience at my women's circle, my weekly women's circle, where you get to show up however you are showing up. Like, there is no expectation to put a smile on. If you are feeling like you are just in the pits, then you get to show up in that space. If you need to have a cry, you get to show up in that space. And there is no one there is trying to solve anything. They literally, the women there that gather, just hold space. And all that means is that they look upon you with loving eyes and they listen. And that's it. There's nothing further. It's not a conversation. It's literally just a one-way monologue for what's going on and the richness that comes out of that. And so I think that's what we've brought into conversation, which I think is probably why, we are, we're 20 years this year, aren't we, sweetheart?
Oh, wow.
Woolly dooly. No wonder we look a little bit old in the mirror. We're 20 years this year, and that's like not nothing for hanging out with the same person and having the same, somewhere between daily boring, have we got milk and bread conversations and also the what are our dreams and, tell me about this.
Where are we going? And it's funny because the other thing that's really shone through in his time is the constant choice, and we've spoken about choice a fair bit in our conversations, not on the podcast, that we still choose one another.
Yes.
Because the day we stop choosing one another is pretty much when the relationship's going to falter and fall. And through this time, I've been absent. You've been doing your thing. I've been doing my thing. We've had weeks where we haven't really connected on a level where we would like to be.
Yes.
But we keep coming back to that thing of choice.
Yes.
And I think for me, it's really reaffirmed that, okay, well, it might be coming up to 20 years, but I'm still making that choice wholeheartedly like I did on day one. And that's why...
More so now, sweetie.
More so now. But that's what gives us that ease.
Yeah, that's
and that
right.
feeling of ease. So when we examine our relationship, our interaction, and you said before that sometimes people look at us and go, geez, I wish, our relationship went like that. We're making a choice every time to do that. So everyone is capable of that. Every single person that hears this, every single person in the world that is in a relationship needs to assess their choice.
Yes.
And they need to make their choice and they need to commit to it.
And I think one of the things I've shared in the past is that, because I love deathbed goggles, just because it's so clarifying, right? So I would think about, if you were really doing something that was giving me the shits, which, obviously never happened ever. But, if I was feeling like I was a bit challenged and getting caught up in my own story, which I know is probably something that's very common to women, particularly type A women, who end up being the stay-at-home mum. So it's not their vocation, it's not their chosen field of genius, but they've got the boobs.
It's become their circumstance.
Well, and it's become a circumstance, and there's a consciousness around bringing children into the world and how you raise them. And obviously, if you choose to raise them yourselves as opposed to giving them to institutions to raise, then part of that is you need to be home. But I think that what I used to do when I was feeling particularly challenged, and I'm not saying I got it right all the time, but I brought it into my awareness more often than not, which is why I think we haven't had many fights. Like, I think we've had 2 maybe in our 20 years, maybe 2. So really not many. We've had conversations, but never fights. But one of the things I would think about would be, okay, how am I going to feel if 2 uniformed coppers roll up at the door and tell me you're dead? And that, I mean, it's an extreme thing to do, but I needed to it was like I needed to feel into that. How would I feel in that moment? And obviously you never failed to deliver, darling. Like I was like, okay, I'm devastated to know he's dead in that now moment of the, infinite field of possibilities. And I didn't go beyond anything other than my initial reaction. If that was my initial reaction, I'm like, cool, still choose him. No. Even if I'm cranky, I still choose him. And there's something freeing about that, because it actually then makes you realise that whatever it is you're feeling in that moment, and I am a throw the baby out with the bathwater kind of gal, aren't I?
You are. You are balls and all.
I am balls and all.
You're in or you're out.
And these people that say, I still love you, but, and I'm like, nope, can't even feel the love in those moments. Like when I'm cranky, I'm just cranky. I don't feel that for some reason, but it's the kind of just test to bring me back to, okay, this is probably my own crap coming up that's needing, looking at or release or whatever it might be. And it's a wonderful way to turn yourself back to an introspective space where you look in the mirror.
I was going to say, it forces you to come back and ignore that tiny little thing that's going on, because at the end of the day, that tiny little thing is such a tiny snapshot in time.
Yeah.
We're talking now from 20 years, right? So if you go back and you look over that 20 years, you go, every time I've made that choice, it's led to more positivity in my own life.
That's right.
So why the hell, for the sake of, winning an argument or point scoring or, whatever, why on earth would I bother?
That's right.
Because if I go back to that original choice, and you obviously choose it with your deathbed goggles, I don't have to go to that extreme. I just think that you're the best, you're the bee's knees.
Wow. You do. So, you've already told me you love me despite anything else going on.
Yeah.
So you actually can maintain that. You are one of those people.
I feel that real connection in quite a strong way. That's part of my personality, and that's why I think I've breezed into a long-term relationship. I didn't even think for 20 years, and had been happy the entire time. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. And yes, happy, that's quite a strong term, isn't it?
I'm allowed to be happy. I am allowed to be happy.
So one of the things that we were, I think, keen to talk about, and it's so funny, I had this reaction when you said it. You said, okay, well, let's look at the things, or let's talk about the things that have worked and the things that haven't worked during your DIDO experience. And I was like, WTF, like what didn't work? I'm so interested about that. But I know lots of things have worked for us. Like we've gone into the 21st century version of writing love notes to each other, which are they're not even text message. I mean, we do text messages, but now we do voice messages so that we each wake up to hear each other's voice, which is such a nice way to start the day.
And that's a really good way to do the connection, and it's something that I think will just flow beautifully into when I'm back at home in the month or so.
Yeah.
And if I'm up and gone before you're out of bed, which is unlikely because you do get up early, or if you're going to bed and I'm still out working, whatever I'm doing, that voice message just means so much, because A, it gives me your voice. B, it's always from a point of view of, hey, this is what I'm up to, and just wanted to let you know that you're the best, and I'm going to bed, and don't wake me up when you get home, but can't wait to see you then. And it's funny how those words or those simple little messages can bring back that connection.
Yes, they're really powerful. I mean, I used to love it when you wrote me little love notes way back before children, long ago.
I remember sending you a series of text messages that would start with the reason why I love you, and then it would have a number.
Yeah.
And I think I remember one of them was 454.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I'd spent 454 reasons before that, or whether I just thought, hey, this is a pretty good number. We'll just chuck this one in there.
Exactly,
and then it would proceed to say something about you that I adored.
Yes.
Or something that you did that I found, not necessarily something that you would look at yourself and go, oh, gee, that's something I do really well, but something that I saw.
Yes.
And it's funny because over that 20 years of time, I think we've done that to one another a lot, where we've shone a light on the things that we love about one another.
I think you do lose that, though. I mean, with kids and stuff, and you don't even need 4 kids to get sidetracked in your conversation.
No.
Just
one child is 100% of your time.
It is 100%. Yeah.
2 children is 100% of your time. 4 kids is 100% of your time.
That's right. So there's plenty of distractions in life that just take that presence away of the impact of those little things, and they cost nothing, you know. I mean, look, if your love language is gifts of appreciation, then that would mean something if you actually wanted gifts. But there's something really beautiful about having things that cost nothing but just have a presence around that, you know, and shining that light on. And particularly because we're so hard on ourselves. So I'm not saying that you need to find your self-love from someone else, but geez, it helps as a springboard.
Even if that's just the unconditional support of another person. Yeah. Because sometimes that's all it takes. And we've been, you know, on quite a long path together. And one of those things that I know, especially early days for you, was that whole thing of believing in our relationship.
Yes.
And that whole thing of believing that I wasn't just going to, you know, we'd have a little argument or a tiff, or you'd do something that you knew I didn't like and wouldn't say anything about it, and you'd be baby out with the bathwater again and go, yeah, that's it. He's not going to, he's done. I've just pissed him off, or I've just upset him this way, or I've done this wrong, or...
I was planning my child-free weekends because I figured we'd go 50-50 in custody.
You're not getting out of it that easy.
No, I realised that. This is a harder yard, staying married.
And look, it is, but that having that support from someone allows you to feel safe in examining who you are.
Yes.
Who your partner is.
Yes.
And what your relationship is. And they're really key things, because who you are changes.
Yes.
Who your partner is changes.
Yes.
And what your relationship must change, because it's got to account for all that.
Well, that's growth, right?
Well, it is.
Otherwise, you've got
growth.
Stagnancy.
And that's the thing. And, you know, to touch a tiny bit on your upbringing, you had a period of time where you had a DIDO. I won't say dildo because
thank you.
That wouldn't be appropriate. Where, you know, there was long periods of time where your dad wasn't necessarily there.
Oh, yeah.
But he was working for the family.
Yeah, that's right.
And he was coming in and coming out. And you had that experience. One of the things you said to me very early on was that you would not be able to tolerate a long-distance relationship similar to what you'd sort of seen.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh,
and it's something that always stuck with me. And it was one of my concerns going back into this field. And it was probably 19 years ago when you were telling me all this, so it's stuck with me for a very long time. And I had a nuclear family, I suppose. I had mum and dad were always there, and they were always accessible to me.
Yeah.
And you just noticed it was one of those things that you didn't want for your life, was the long periods of time where there was a lot of absence between the two parents.
That's so interesting, because I have no recollection of that whatsoever. And that's okay, because I get to recreate history as I see fit. Yeah. But what's also interesting was that at no time have I felt the sense of loss of you. Like, I've felt the sense of loss of your companionship as in an everyday sense, but I've been just deep gratitude for the opportunities that you've been afforded, and then what that means for the family. And what I was going to say, as you beautifully just finished your thought with that, was that I never afforded that to my dad. I never thought about the fact of he's going off to work for the family, and there's a deep gratitude in that sacrifice. Because I do always remember the fact that you want to be home. As a stay-at-home parent, that sounds like a nightmare. So, you know, like, we're always looking for excuses to disappear or find our own space, or, you know, just have breathing room to do our own creative thing, whatever that might be, right? Even if it's just adult conversations. I'm sure I'm not speaking for all stay-at-home parents, but for the reluctant stay-at-home parents, and particularly the reluctant homeschooling parents.
Yeah, you took it all on.
I know, that's right. It's so interesting. But I mean, I'm rocking the balance now. Well, not the balance, I'm rocking the harmony. So I feel really, I feel a lot more like I've got the harmony sorted out, which is why this year has been so easy by comparison. And it's been nuts. Like, it's been busy with you not being here, and for a while there I was working a lot of days a week too, so it made it super busy. But sometimes you just get on with it, you know, when you've got to get it done, you get it done. And when you're high vibing and you're working on living in the quantum field as well, you just bring more of that co-creative energy into your world. So you high vibe it, you know, so it doesn't feel hard. It feels like it's a flow.
Well, you make a choice. You know, we've spoken before about, you know, your perspective is everything.
Yes.
So, and I look at it and I go, this last 6-7 months could have been a really negative experience, but it hasn't been.
And I think that's the thing is, in context, when I said that to you, and I'm sure I did, because your memory is immaculate and mine is crap, but I'm sure I did say that to you. I think that I equated long-distance relationships with relationship breakdowns.
And that's probably been a truthism of many people.
Yeah, well, we've observed it in our...
We've seen it within our friendship circle,
and,
you know, neighbours and beyond.
Yeah, that's right. And so there is... and like, I think that's just... It's meant to be the case. I don't think all relationships... or the failures of all relationships come down to the absence of the things we bring to it. I mean, I appreciate the fact that there are relationships for a reason, a season and a lifetime. And, you know, I feel really comfortable in recognising that, as far as I can tell, ours is probably a relationship of a lifetime.
Yeah, well, work on it.
Could
20,
be a reason.
20 years in counting. Could be. Well, it is a reason, because the reason is we made a choice.
Oh, I like that.
And we
McGill.
continue to make that choice.
Oh.
Our commitment is first and foremost to one another. And then that beautiful commitment has grown our family.
Yes.
It has grown our friends. It has, part of that whole thing of, you know, examining self, examining your partner, but examining your relationship. In that choice factor for us, and you said it beautifully, is growth. And we've had that conversation, so we've made the choice to grow together. And when we talk about it from that point of view, it doesn't surprise me that we've had a good time through this period where I've been physically absent, that we've just worked it out and just done it.
Well, you've been emotionally really available, which is what's been great. I think you haven't been caught up in your own story of busyness. Like, there's been an appreciation of, okay, I mean, I know sometimes you're spent and sometimes you're not. And like, very much what we were doing with, you know, meeting up once a week, we started because I felt that was something you needed.
Yep.
But then it quickly evolved into something that I actually needed. You know, it was something that, like, I needed that for myself, because then our weekends are busy. They just are busy with family stuff and just, you know, catching up on everything, and being aware. And that's when we try and catch up with friends. And like, there's just a lot going on the weekend. So it's afforded me, almost like a stillness midweek where we get to just see each other.
Oh, and it's one-on-one.
Yeah.
There's no distraction. Well, the kids do ring sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's one-on-one. It's just you and me, and the hardest thing we've got to decide is when we're going to have dinner.
I know, that's right. It's a good problem to have. And one of the things that I think... I'm curious to know what hasn't worked in your view, because one of the things that I think has worked really well is when the penny dropped for me and I went, okay, I don't want to drive an hour and a half to then have a conversation about my day. Like, that just bores the shit out of me. I'm not interested. I don't feel an evolution within that. You need to, as you've said, that's a defragging, that's a shaking off of any density.
The environment I'm in, it's quite a dense environment. It's in a lot of cases I'm doing a lot of things that are probably really not necessary for me, and so I'm trying to not so much hold my tongue, but I'm trying to just, you know, get through what needs to be done.
That's right, and keep your head down
and not be a dick.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, yeah, that's right.
Again, choice, but I've made the choice to be there. I need to tick the boxes that need to be ticked and show that I'm capable.
Which
so
you are,
a lot of the time, thank you, darling. A lot of the time, I'm moving out of that environment. I can't talk to in that environment about what might be a level of frustration or a difference of opinion to something that's been told to me.
There's an identity in there too, right? So that becomes your suit of armour. But one of the things we did bring in, which our dear friends had got us onto, were these, what are those cards? They're like just from Kmart, and they're, I don't know, $10, and they're these sort of soul questions. And they're kind of like, they're sort of like life conundrums of, you know, open-ended questions. So we've started bringing those to dinner, which has been great because we actually have high-vibe conversations throughout dinner as well, and we talk about stuff that we'd never normally do. And that's the kind of stuff that's normally reserved for a dinner party once you've had a lubricating glass of whatever. And you get into those kind of more philosophical conversations. We're sort of bringing them into our midweek thing.
But it's worked from the point of view, and for us, and I think it would work for a lot of people, that you've allowed me the defrag time.
Absolutely.
Had that, we've had a bit of a conversation and gone, let's change the focus here completely.
Yeah.
And rather than trying to fish an idea out of your head or trying to hold on to an idea that might come to you through part of the conversation, you just go, look, let's roll this out and see where it goes.
Yeah.
And
it's a bit like these conversations.
Yeah, exactly that. You know, next time we might just throw a card out because half the time I've got no idea what I'm talking about. And Joe just goes, we're going to talk about this. You go, okay.
It's because everything comes out of your mouth is gold.
Oh, thank you, darling.
So what hasn't worked for you?
Well, we've probably gone through a lot of it. So there's been a few times where we've had to can our midweek meet-up because there's been too much going on. So that's been hard. It's been hard for me because I'm such a problem solver. Yes. And sometimes, like if I'm at home and you're having a challenging time or that's where one of the children needs some attention and you don't necessarily have the bandwidth for it at that point in time, you know, I can just slide in with that and I can hand that over and without, just because I'm there and I want to be there and I want to do it. Whereas when I'm on the other end of the telephone, it's very hard not to try and solve someone's problem when they're going, oh, and this happened, oh my God, and this is going on. And that's a defrag time. It's not a time to offer solutions.
That's right. And in fact, there's quite often, and it'd be interesting to know if the, other parents in the Quantifolk field feel the same way. But if I know you're not there, I actually don't need your help because I get it done. And I go and have breaks if I need to. And it's a totally different way. You know, one of the greatest problems can be that when you're expecting your partner home, you've poured your glass of wine and you're ready to basically clock off for the night, right? And then they get caught up and they don't come at the time you're expecting. That's harder than when you're not there. And so there's the weight of expectation where you've already started relaxing into it and dropping your bundle. And I notice I do that more on the weekend because I can.
And the other thing I've noticed from the start of my time away till coming home now on a Friday night is that I'd come home and I'd be tired. I'd be worn out and I'd be a pretty average version of self. And that would reflect in the way that I would then interact with the kids because then I'd be more of an annoyance or a hindrance because all of a sudden I'm already in a grumpy state because I've made a choice on the way home that I'm tired. And so that's something that I've noticed personally for me. I'll drive home and I'll stop and I'll have a break.
Yeah.
For 15 or 20 minutes and I'll get out and I move my body and then when I get back in the car after that break and that lasts, 40 minutes or hour or whatever it is to then get home, I make a choice at that point in time and I start focusing on you guys. I look at it and I go, okay, I'm going to get to see Jodi. So that's great. So then I focus on who you are in my life. Then I focus on each of the kids. So by the time I get home, instead of, I might still be tired, I might still be a bit grumpy, but I have a genuine interest in connecting with all of you because I've started that connection in the car.
And you've gone through the process of transfiguration.
Yes. I'm just hanging out to see you guys. Whether you're yelling at me, whether you're screaming at me, whether the kids are telling me where to go. That's not me, by the way, yeah. Generally not. She's usually got at least one glass of wine to her by that stage, so I'm looking pretty good. And
mother's medicine.
No judgment here, ever, for that. But But I've found that that's also allowed me to come into the home when I'm tired with a genuine interest, so that even if I'm a little bit grumpy, I generally get through the first hour or so.
Yeah.
And, everyone sort of eases into my presence being back into our house.
Yes, that's right. Because, for a while there, it really did shake up the household.
Well, we've got a 16-year-old who's a young man.
Yes.
I mean, he's beautiful. But,
Yes.
but he probably sees to a point his role as, I'm the man in this house.
Yeah.
And then he's got younger brothers as well that are stepping up to, try and help out along the way. I mean, they're beautiful for it.
Yes.
But then all of a sudden in comes what you might want to term as an alpha or a big physical male that goes, well, hang on a minute, I'm in charge.
Yeah, that's right.
Instead of looking at it going, coming in on a level with them and seeing where they're at and what's going on. And that is far more what.
And we did have that conversation because I said they hold the space the entire week. So you got to come in and be aware. So.
Yeah. So, you do. And look, that's something that we've learnt. So that's something that we've, gotten better and better at and it's been part of my growth.
So tell me, what are we going to take going forward as you come back home and are here more regularly?
I think, on that point we just discussed, me not sliding in thinking I have to do everything and hold the space when you're not able to or when we're both feeling stretched. Let them explore this level of maturity and growth that they found.
Yes.
Because that's only going to help them be better people.
Yeah, that's right. And that is a getting out of the way your children thing. What about for us?
For us, I think how important that honouring of time with one another has been.
Yes.
So, we might not be sneaking out once a week for dinner together, but just finding 5 minutes here and there and just, like we made dinner and I've been in a beautiful space. I've been home for this week where we'd make lunch and we'd sit outside and just have lunch, just you and I in the sun.
Yes.
Those sorts of things we don't have to sit there and don't have to talk to one another. We just have to be in one another's company and presence. And that's a really comfortable space to be with a relationship is when you're just happy to sit there and just drink in the other person's company.
Yeah, that's right. It is. It's a stillness, isn't it? And I think that in our really busy life, we don't create much for that. So, there's even this need to have conversations, even if they're high vibe conversations, you're still filling the space with noise. And in fact, we can do non-verbal communication quite easily just by sharing space.
The other thing I'd say is that I can actually say to you, no, I just need to get this shit out of my head.
Yeah, that's right.
I just need to tell you how crap this was.
Yes.
Or I just need to talk about this because it's frustrating me and until I get it out of my field, it's going to continue to frustrate me, so I'm not going to be anywhere near a good version of myself or the best version of myself. So that honesty of going, I'm off, then examine it and going, well, I'm off for this reason.
Yeah.
And that shits me.
Yeah.
How do I get past that? And I think that's one of the other beautiful things that we both have is the ability to try and look past a problem. It's only a snapshot.
That's right.
How do we move past it?
Yeah. And our little morning love notes.
Yes.
We'll keep those
and
going
evening ones.
too.
Yeah, they're good. They're good fun.
Yeah. It's been good. It's been an absolute gift. This last 6 months have been a gift. And it's an opportunity for us to keep bringing the richness into the relationship, which I see around me, and I hear very similar conversations with people who are just feeling a little bit like they miss the honeymoon effect. And one of the things that I would encourage people to do is to go and read Bruce Lipton's The Honeymoon Effect, which really is about that. It really is about the choice to stay in that fresh love state, and that is because you're in growth, so you stay in love, and you don't get caught up in essentially what are minor dilemmas and dramas, and usually someone else's crap as well, but not your own.
That's pretty good.
It is pretty good. You're amazing.
You're pretty special yourself, darling.
Thanks for the conversation.
Thank you. Who knew where that was going to go?
I know, as always. Oh my goodness. Quantifolk, thank you for listening. It's been an honour to share space with you as always.
Thank you, beautiful people.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.